Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the tenses and I am going to teach all the 12 tenses in a beautiful tabular form. And if you just remember that table or the tabular form, you will never forget the tenses in your lifetime. Just watch the video and I'm sure that you will learn all the tenses and you will really enjoy learning them. And it is going to be such an easy way of learning all the tenses. Hereafter, you will never find any kind of problem with the tenses. It's a promise from my side. Come on, let's get into the video. So these are the 12 tenses we are going to talk now. Okay, so these 12 tenses can be divided into two categories. And these two categories are the simple tenses and the perfect tenses. There are 6 simple tenses and there are 6 perfect tenses. And you all know these tenses. Only thing is, you haven't learned them in an organized way. So now I'm going to teach you in an organized way so that you will never forget the tenses in your life. Okay, so these are the 6 simple tenses: present tense, past tense, future tense. These 3 tenses are very common and you know them very well. And the present continuous, past continuous, and the future continuous. So these are the 6 simple tenses. And there are a few exceptions in present tense and future tense. That is what I'm going to teach you. Otherwise, these tenses are very familiar to you all. And the title of today's class is No Tension with Tenses. Okay, so these are the 12 tenses I was talking just now: the present tense, past tense, future tense, and present continuous, past continuous, future continuous. These are the 6 simple tenses and these are the 6 perfect tenses. So let us begin with the simple tenses. So first we are going to talk about the present tense. And in the present tense, what happens? The simple present tense denotes actions which take place regularly. So the actions which take place regularly. Usually whenever I ask the students to tell any example for present tense, they tell we are listening, we are watching. So we are listening, we are watching is not present tense. It is present continuous tense. So what happens in the present tense? In the present tense, the actions are the actions which take place regularly are denoted in the present tense. For example, I go to school. We play in the park. You learn English language. He watches movies on OTT platform. She talks a lot. It rains in the rainy season. So these are the actions which take place regularly. Only exception you have to remember is this he, she, it. These are the third person singulars. I, we and you. I is first person, we is first person plural, you is second person. It can be singular or plural. But the third person singular, he, she, it, they take the S forms of the verbs in present tense. This is the only exception we all have to remember when we are talking in present tense. Okay. He watches, she talks, it rains, she gives, she takes, she dances, he watches, he plays. So all these third person singulars have to take place, have to be denoted in S forms. This is the only exception you have to remember in the present tense. Okay, simple present tense, third person takes S form. Otherwise, all the actions which take place regularly. For example, the universal truths. The sun rises in the east. The earth revolves around the sun, So all these actions you can talk in present tense. Okay. Next we move on to present continuous tense. Okay. So what happens in the present continuous tense? The actions denoted are taking place right now. So whichever action is taking place right now are denoted in simple present continuous tense or simple present progressive tense also it is called. Some of the grammarians call it as progressive tense. So don't get confused with the continuous and progress. It's the same. And the examples are I am going to school. We are playing in the park. You are learning English language. He is watching movies on OTT platform. She is talking a lot. It is raining. So these are the actions which are denoted in simple present continuous. So let us move on to the third tense, that is the past tense. So what happens in the past tense? The past tense, it denotes actions which took place in the past, completed actions. Okay. Example, I went to school. We played in the park. You learned English language. He watched movies on the OTT platform. So all the actions which are completed are denoted in simple past tense. So next we will move on to simple past continuous tense. This is the one, fourth one. So what happens in simple past continuous? It denotes actions which were taking place in the past continuously, but they were taking place in the past. For example, I was going to school. We were playing in the park. You were learning English language. He was watching movies on OTT platforms. So these actions were taking place in the past. Okay. Next, we move on to the future actions, the future tense. Okay, this is the future tense. So what will happen in the future tense? It denotes actions which will take place in the future. So the actions which will happen in the future. It could be in the next 5 minutes or next 1 hour or next day or next week or next month or next year or even in the next birth. Okay, where whenever the actions take place in the future, they are denoted in the future tense. For example, I will go to school. We will play in the park. You will learn English language. He will watch movies on OTT platform. So all the actions which are going to take place in the future are denoted in future tense. Next, we move on to the actions which are denoted in future continuous tense. So what happens in future continuous tense? The future continuous tense denotes actions which will be taking place in the future continuously. So these actions will happen continuously in the future. Example, I will be going to school. We will be playing in the park. You will be learning English language. He will be watching movies on OTT platform. So will be. So this is the ing forms. All the continuous tenses are denoted in ing form. Remember, that is the only rule you have to remember for the continuous tenses. But for this future tense, there are a few exceptions we have to remember. That's only in the future tense we have to remember these exceptions. For example, we can use present tense and present continuous to denote future tense. For example, tomorrow is Sunday. So we will not say tomorrow will be Sunday. Will be means what happened? Is there any doubt? So if it is confirmed, we use present tense without any hesitation. Tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow is a holiday. So it is declared. So there also we do not hesitate to use present tense. So what is present tense? Is the present tense over there. We can also use present continuous for the actions which are decided in the future to happen. For example, the minister is inaugurating the flyover bridge next week. The minister's schedule is decided. Nobody can change it. So it is decided. We can use present continuous. Is inaugurating is present continuous to denote the actions which are taking place in the future without any problem. I am visiting the doctor next Monday. I have taken the appointment. My appointment is scheduled. So uh, there is no change in the schedule. So I am visiting. Instead of telling I will be visiting the doctor next Monday, I can tell I am visiting the doctor next Monday without any hesitation. So these are the two exceptions we can use in the future tense, simple future. The present tense and the present continuous we can use. And these are some more examples. Next month, she is performing a dance show. So there is no doubt about that. She is performing. Her program is fixed. So you can use present continuous. Is performing. The solar eclipse is occurring next Sunday. It's already, they have calculated, the astrologers have calculated and it's going to take place. So is occurring is present continuous. We are traveling to America next month. So the tickets are booked and it is decided. So we can use present continuous. I am going to my uncle's place tomorrow. I've already decided. Like we are watching a movie tomorrow. The tickets are booked. So we can use present continuous. So these are the tenses we can use for future tense. Will and shall can be used, present tense can be used, present continuous tense also can be used. These are the three things we can use for the future tense. So that is the reason the most of the grammarians call it as future time reference. They don't call it as future tense or simple future. They call it as future time reference. The terminology has changed. So these are some of the, not some of the, these are the six simple tenses. Hope you have understood these simple tenses. Now we will move on to the perfect tenses. So these are the tenses you have learned. I'm just recapitulating for you. The present, it can also be called as simple present, simple past, and simple future. Simple present continuous, simple past continuous, simple future continuous. So these are the six simple tenses, and hope you have understood. If you have any queries or any doubts, do not hesitate to put it in the comment section. I'll be there to clarify. And you may get a doubt, what is the difference between the simple tenses and the perfect tenses? Okay, simple tenses, of course, they denote the action and they tell us the time of the action. And these perfect tenses, they are always attached to a kind of time sense. So here, the actions are completed. When we talk about perfect tenses, the actions are completely completed, but they are related to a particular time. We have to mention the time and we have to bear the time of the completed actions. Here, sometimes the action may be completed and the action may not be completed. But when you deal with these perfect tenses, whether the action, sometimes the action may be completed, sometimes even the action is not completed, we will imagine the action to be completed in the future or at the present or in the past. So here we deal with the completed action. That is why we call them as perfect tenses. And these are the keywords I told you: has, have, and had. So whenever we are using has, have, and had, that denotes that we are referring to a particular time, whether in the present tense or past tense or future tense. This is the only difference between the simple tense and the perfect tenses. We have to remember that. Now, coming to the perfect tenses, these are a little bit complicated and we have to focus our attention on these perfect tenses. And these are present perfect, past perfect, and future perfect. Present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. So these are the six perfect tenses we have to focus and learn them. And once you understand these six tenses, and you will not have any kind of problem in learning all the 12 tenses. And the keyword for these perfect tenses are keywords has, have, and had. These are the things you have to remember when you're dealing with the perfect tenses. Otherwise, simple tenses, you need not worry about this have, has, and how. Only thing is continuous is also called as progressive tense. Present perfect continuous or present perfect progressive tense. Now let's learn all these tenses along with examples. Then you will never forget. So now let us learn the perfect tenses. As I already told you, there are six perfect tenses: present perfect, past perfect, future perfect, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. So let us learn them along. So the first tense we are going to talk about is present perfect tense. So this denotes actions which have completed in the past and carry the effect into the present. That means the action is completed in the past, but you are bringing that effect into the present at the time of speaking. Then you have to use the present perfect tense. Let us see the examples. The first one, I watched a movie. This is only simple past. Watched is simple past. That means I watched and I don't remember anything. But if you say I have watched a movie yesterday or last week or whatever it is, then you are not able to forget that movie. You still remember the beautiful locations or the beautiful songs or the actions, whatever it is. You are not able to come out of that movie. So you are bringing that effect into the present. Then you have to use the present perfect tense. I have watched a movie. The meaning is same. I watched a movie. I have watched a movie. If you say I watched a movie, the effect you are not bringing into the present. But if you say I have watched a movie, that means you are bringing the effect into the present. Second example, he painted a beautiful picture. Completed. Action is complete. Painted. Nobody bothers what he has painted. But if you say he has painted a beautiful picture, that means you are really enjoying looking at the picture. You are bringing that effect into the present. Third example, India became independent in 1947. Became independent. Okay, completed. The action is completed. But if you say India has become independent since 1947, you are using the present perfect. That means still for the past 75 years we are enjoying the fruits of independence. That means the action of getting independence is completed, but you are bringing the effect into the present. Even after 75 years you are bringing that effect into the present. That means you have to use the present perfect tense. Hope it is clear for you all now. Now next, yeah, that is present perfect. We are moving into the next tense, present perfect continuous tense. So this denotes actions which began in the past and continue into the present. The action has begun in the past, but it is still continued into the present. For example, I have been watching a movie for 2 hours. That means before 2 hours the action has started and it is still continuing. So that is the tense we have to use. I have been watching a movie for 2 hours. This is the period of action. If you say, I have been watching a movie since 11 a.m. 11 a.m. is the exact time you are mentioning. Now it is 1 a.m. maybe, 1 p.m. maybe. So that means before 2 hours you have started. So if you are pinpointing the time, then it is the point of time and you will use since. This is only difference for mentioning the time reference. You have to remember for and since. He has been painting a beautiful picture for 7 days. So he has started it before 7 days and still it is continuing. So you will be saying he has been painting a beautiful picture. He has been painting a beautiful picture since last Sunday. So he has started that action last Sunday and still it is being continued. She has been waiting in the bus stop for 2 hours. That means before 2 hours she started the action of waiting in the bus stop. Still it is continued. Then you have to use the present perfect continuous tense. Okay, let us move on to the next one, past perfect tense. So when do we use past perfect tense? When there were two actions completed in the past, the earlier action should be denoted in the past perfect tense. So imagine there are two actions completed. For example, if you see, when we reached the station, the train had left. So reach is one action which is completed, and then had left is another action which is completed. Both the actions are completed. But which one has taken earlier? The train leaving has taken earlier. That should be denoted in past perfect tense. That is had plus ed form of the verb. Had left. It's not when we had reached, the train left. Because the train leaving has taken earlier. So there you have to use the past perfect tense, had left. I had spoken to my friend before I wrote to you. So these are the two actions which were completed in the past. One is speaking and one is writing. So which one had completed earlier? Speaking activity is completed earlier. So you have to mention it in the past perfect tense. I had spoken to my friend before I wrote to you. So had is the had spoken. Had plus verb ed form is the past perfect tense. So this is how you remember the tenses. Moving on to the next tense, that is the past perfect continuous tense. When do we use it? This denotes an action which began in the past and continued up to a certain time in the past. So it began in the past and completed in the past only. That period you are mentioning in the in this tense. Example, I had been reading a book when Tanvi rang the bell. So till she rang the bell, that action was being continued. So I had been reading. What happened when Tanvi rang the bell? I had been reading a book. So rang is one action and reading is another action. But which was in continuous tense, which was earlier, which took earlier continuously, this is had been reading a book. Arjun had been playing when his father called him. So what was he doing when his father called him? He had been playing. So this is past perfect continuous tense. Next, we'll come to future perfect tense. So this is the other tense. This denotes action which will be completed in the future. You remember I told you all the perfect tenses talk about completed actions. So in the future, this action will be completed. Let us see the example. I will have lived in my new home by 2023. That means next year my construction of the house will be completed and I'll be living there. So I will have lived in my new home by 2023. This action will be completed. Now it is not completed, but in the future it is completed. That is why we use the future perfect tense. He will have completed his novel by next year. He is writing a novel right now, but by next year he will definitely complete it. So he will have completed his novel by next year. You will have obtained your degree by 2 years. Maybe now you are in the first year of your degree. Within 2 years, you will have completed. There is no doubt about that. The action will be completed. So, is there any doubt that you will not complete your degree? You will definitely complete. So, you will have obtained your degree by 2 years. So, this is how you use your future perfect tense. Coming to the next tense, future perfect continuous tense. This denotes ongoing actions at a specific time in the future. In the future, from this period to that period, this action will be taking place. I will have been watching my favorite movie by next week. I've already booked my tickets. I know the timings. By next week, this time I'll be watching my favorite movie, my favorite hero's movie or heroine's movie. So I will have been watching my favorite movie by next week. Second, he will have been starting his new venture by next year. Maybe he's planning to go for a startup and he has done all the groundwork. He has got his plan approved and all, whatever work he has to do. So he's sure of starting his new startup or the venture. So he will have been starting his new venture by next year. This is future perfect continuous tense. So these are the 6 tenses you might have remembered. You might remember all of you. So the present perfect, the 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 structure you have to remember is have or has plus ed form of the verb. I have watched, she has watched. Then the continuous, I have been watching, she has been waiting. Then the past perfect tense, I had reached, we had reached the station, he had entered into his master's. So had plus ed form. That means 2 actions have been completed. Then comes the past perfect continuous. Had been. He had been waiting in the bus stop when the bell rang or when the bus arrived. Okay. Future perfect. Will have. I will have lived in my new house. Future perfect continuous. I will have been living in the new house. But one thing you have to all remember, this future perfect and future perfect continuous tense are no more in use. People are not using them. Especially Indians are not using these 2 tenses. They are just using the other tenses. You need not worry, but for the sake of knowing it, you will have to understand these tenses. Hope you all have understood these tenses. So hope you have understood all the tenses along with the examples and try to practice them. Okay, every day at least one tense you have to practice along with the examples. And whenever you read the sentences, try to analyze, try to identify the tense in which it is mentioned. Okay, so let us quickly revise what all tenses you have learned till now. The 6 simple tenses are present tense, past tense, and future tense. Present continuous, past continuous and future continuous. Or else you can also call them as progressive tenses, future progressive tense. Okay, and the six perfect tenses are present perfect, past perfect, future perfect, present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, and future perfect continuous. So these are the 12 tenses you have learned now. Hope you will not forget them and try to practice them. Hope you have understood them. And if you really have any doubts or any queries, please do not hesitate to put them in the comment section. I'll be there to clear all your doubts regarding the tenses. Thanks for watching, and if this tutorial had made sense, please like, share, and do not forget to subscribe. That means a lot for me. Okay, bye bye for now, and let's meet up in the next video. Bye, take care.